Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Have you thought about what the difference is, or what are, and are they the same between the brain and the mind?
No, I think they're different. Mm.
Okay. What's your thoughts on them?
Mm. I mean, I don't know. My inclination is like if you used an analogy, like the brain could be like the hardware, whereas the mind, well, it's not a very good analogy. It could be like software, but not really, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
One seems to be tangible and one's intangible. But, but there's a lot more to it than that, I think, isn't there? Because it's sort of interesting, because like in the ancient Greek and Hebrew, there is no word for brain.
Oh, isn't?
No, they don't have a word for brain, and that's why quite often you'll see them refer to heart.
Yeah.
I think. Oh well, I don't know if that's why they do, but it seems to be that they refer to heart rather than anything else.
Yeah. 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 I've been pondering it and contemplating it for a couple of weeks now. So my research and my contemplation has come up with we could say the following explanation, if I had to bring it down to the nitty-gritty, is that the brain is where your consciousness lives. Okay, you're conscious of this, that, and the other thing in your daily life. Okay, so that's the brain. Whereas the mind is divided into two. Okay, the subconscious and the unconscious. So the subconscious is where information is stored. Okay, and one's not aware of one's of thoughts, feelings, and actions, but it rather influences our and emotions. Talking about the subconscious, yeah. So, whereas the unconscious, which is quite an interesting separation. It keeps memories and impulses of things like your health, okay, and your personality and so on, things which then just automatically are there, okay. And you're not conscious of it, okay, so that separates it. So yeah, that's really the sort of what I've come up with. And
so the thing about memories and that,
yeah,
I mean potentially that could be. I mean, we're not talking about reliability, but I mean, it seems that every time we recall something, we almost like reinvent it, don't we?
Well, yeah, you re-bring it to your conscious mind.
Yeah.
So it could be like a reinvention. Yeah, yeah.
So it's not necessarily the same as the previous recollection, though, is it? So.
No, right.
Yeah, because I mean, I was listening to a podcast the other morning, and the question was raised about differences between different accounts of the apostles. So Luke, talking about essentially the same issue, like for example, Luke's recollection or report of what the Roman centurion said who was standing there at the cross differs
Mm.
quite dramatically from, I think it was Peter's. You know,
Right, right.
Peter's recollection was the Roman centurion says, you know, or words to the effect that, you know, clearly this man is the Son of God. Where Luke's report on what the Roman centurion said is he said, clearly this man is innocent.
Mm. Mm.
And they both could potentially mean the same thing, I guess, but they're different, you know. So
Yeah, because if we look at what I've just said with regard to the definition of the subconscious, okay, it depends how they experienced it, how emotionally they experienced it at the time.
well, there's that, and I think the other probably big factor is that, as with any communication, it depends on what the intention of the author is when they're trying to communicate something.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You know, so if Luke was trying to communicate, you know, the whole idea of an innocent man being tried,
Mm.
then the words he's chosen are probably quite accurate.
Right.
But if Peter's, you know, depiction of what had happened was that, you know, this man was the son of God, then it's also accurate. You know, so it depends on what the intention is too of the communicator, I guess, doesn't it? You know?
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Tell me more about that area. Have you been studying that this week?
Oh no, not specifically. It was just something that was raised as a question by someone in the podcast. They sort of said, "Well, who do you believe?"
Mm.
Well,
Mm.
it's not a case of who you believe or who you don't believe. It goes much deeper than that, you know. So,
Yeah, yeah.
and just because one person has an account of events this way and another one has an account of the same events
Yeah.
in a different way, doesn't mean one's right or one's wrong, or, you know, there's a lot more, you know, factors at play than just, you know. And I think if you even sort of put yourself in the shoes of like a detective, you know, they'll go out and interview a whole range of witnesses to get their account of what happened or what they thought happened.
Mm. Mm.
And quite often, you know, all those witnesses can have wildly different, you know, perspectives on what actually happened.
Now, why would they have a widely uh, differing experience?
Well, I guess there's a whole range of factors at play, isn't there? You know, like personal biases and,
Yeah,
you know, how we interpret things and
yeah, yeah.
whether they believed certain things were possible or not possible, or, you know, biases, personal biases, you know. So there could be a whole range of factors, you know, that
Yeah, yeah.
and the other thing too, I guess, from my own perspective, is I often wonder, you know, like as you have these wonderings, I often wonder, you know, when I think about something, you know, in the past, you know, I sort of ask myself these days, like, is my recollection of it even remotely the same as what happened? Or
Yeah.
have I modified that story over and over and over and over the years to the extent now where I think it's what happened, but it's probably nothing like what happened, you know? So,
Yeah, and then add to that, you know, your personality now compared to
mm,
when it actually occurred, maybe
yeah,
decades ago.
yeah,
Okay,
mm,
so now you see things through your filters differently.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, I've probably made my recollections of what I thought occurred attach my own meaning to it as well, you know?
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, no, it's a fascinating area, isn't it? You know, and
It really is. The other thing that I stumbled on when researching the mind and the brain, that there's a system which works with all three, the conscious, the unconscious, and the subconscious, and that is the nervous system. Okay, that's the common factor. It links everything together. And I found that very fascinating because it throws a whole different light on the nervous system.
Yeah.
And its ability to communicate.
And I suppose in one sense, like if the body, for example, is feeling stress or pain or something in a particular part of it, you know, is what's the cause of the pain? Is it biological or is it emotional or is it psychological? Or
spot on. Yes. And therefore, can you, because there's a link between all of them, can you resolve that pain consciously using the nervous system? Yeah.
Because some would say yes, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I would tend to want to say yes. I can't, haven't proved it. But there's something with this, the link between, because where does the pain actually sit? Okay. You know, yes, you've got a sore toe. Okay. Where does the pain actually sit?
Yeah, is the pain down there or is it somewhere else? Yeah.
Yes, is it somewhere else? Because the pain is definitely, you experience pain because of nerves. Okay. You know, just because, you know, the bone might feel sore, the joint might be sore. It's the nerves that communicate that pain. So science gives it, you know, a lot of different names depending on where the pain is. But, you know, can you not focus on eradicating that pain? But then you get all sorts of complications. You know, what happens if the pain is due to a lack of nutrients or something, you know, or too much sugar in your blood, you know, and so it's absolutely fascinating thoughts, and but also how unknown to us, or if, you know, things that are not part of our consciousness, in other words, subconscious and unconscious, okay, they actually influence us on a daily basis, okay, those things, just because they're there and because the nervous system communicates these things. So you develop unconscious, from your unconsciousness, a personality, okay, and also that unconsciousness is you know, your health. You started the conversation off by saying, well, we're getting older. Or, no, you speak for yourself, not we. Okay. Yeah. And yeah, no, that happens unconsciously, okay, and affects, you know, everything in our body, okay. But it's unconscious to us. It just happens, and you correctly say we just age because we're getting older, and so therefore these things deteriorate. But our health is an unconscious thing, which is connected to the mind through the nervous system. Yeah. So your unconscious mind certainly makes who you are, your personality, Don Jones. You don't think about your personality consciously ever, okay, but it's there, okay. And now I've learned that it comes from the unconscious. It has developed, and there might have been factors that were conscious at one stage when you were young, or maybe not, or just part of you, and now become unconscious.
It's an interesting question, because I mean, I kind of wonder sometimes, can we be aware of ourselves?
Yeah.
And I suppose the ultimate question is God aware of herself?
Yeah, I think the first part of the question is can we become aware of ourselves? And it's like we said at the beginning of the conversation, what are we? Okay, or who are we? Or but we definitely are an entity with a mind that has a purpose. Okay? As much as our other part of the mind, the subconscious also has a purpose. Okay, and so we've got all these things that are us, our character and our emotions. Certain things just spark us off. We suddenly get angry about something. Where the hell does that come from? Okay, whereas we might be very tolerant about things that other people might get angry about. And so where does that come from? It comes from the mind, but where's the mind? Okay.
That is the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And does it need to be somewhere?
Well, I think it is. When I look at what Logos has written and how the various planes are formed, that we are part and parcel of, that are inside of us, you get, let's just use the words that we've been using now for this thing rather than what he's written. You get like the emotional levels. So there's a plane that where emotions are stored. Then there's a mental level, okay, which is, I guess, divided up into conscious, unconscious, and subconscious. Okay, but the last level is the subconscious level. It's a plane. Okay, and it's part of the universe. It's part of the makeup at a certain frequency that, and each of us are connected to that. And the more we are connected to that, the more we are moving spiritually, okay? Because it's the last physical plane is the subconscious plane, okay? And then from there we move on to the first non-physical, I guess you call it. It's first spiritual plane.
And so in the context of those planes, like if you should say like a spiritual plane, is that where spiritual beings reside, on those planes?
Okay, that's an interesting question to ask, and probably the best way that I can respond to you is that it's the first spiritual plane, and we were as spiritual beings, we were born on the 10th of those spiritual planes, okay? But there are spiritual planes that go much far beyond the 10th, and but there is a sight and sound energy that doesn't go into the physical plane. It comes down and filters through all the spiritual planes to this first spiritual plane, and then it goes back again. So it cycles like that, okay? So there's a we only have a word for it that we can call energy, okay? But so I use maybe color, light, sound as part and parcel of it all. But it circulates, it stops there. And there's just, as Logos points out, just a dribble of it comes down into the subconscious plane, and gets converted, and then into the mental plane and the emotional plane and the astral plane, and then eventually to the earth physical plane, although it's all physical. It's just divisions. The lowest of the physical is the earth. So that gets that spiritual energy becomes, in the physical, psychic energy. And that's what we experience. Now, our whole purpose is to bring our awareness past the subconscious, okay, into the first spiritual, okay. And once we're there, further up. So, yeah, on every level, to answer your question, there are people living in the mental plane, in the subconscious plane. There are planes that people are living in, okay. And in each one of the spiritual planes, including the first spiritual plane, okay. And each plane has God manifestations or representatives, okay. And they've got names, okay. So yes, they are, and so our purpose is a journey, okay. And we've got to use our conscious mind, okay. In other words, our daily activities, and do what we believe, okay, because there's no other way. There's no scientific fact or anything like that. Yes, there's quantum physics, which is getting there, but it's still far from there, okay. But it's certainly hidden in the right direction. That it's showing that everything is one, okay, which it is, okay, but everything's inside of you in the physical body. So all these planes we're talking about are not outside one, but are actually inside one.
Inside.
Yeah. It's to comprehend it. I don't think it's possible. You can just know, or you just believe. Okay.
Yeah, that guy, I quite like his books. Douglas Harding.
Yeah.
He's the guy who talks about, being headless. And in some of the exercises that he sort of takes you through, he says, you might be sort of sitting there, going for, or not sitting there, but like going for a walk or driving a car or something like that. And he said, the sensation you experience is that you're moving through space. But it says, how do you know it's not the reverse? That actually you're stationary and things are moving past you?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's really worth thinking about. Because the old saying that we've often mentioned over the years, we've had a chat, is you get in your car and you drive, you don't know how you got to your destination. Okay. You're not thinking about how to drive or anything like that. You just drive. Okay. So it's a behavior that comes from your subconscious. Okay?
Or even something as simple as meditating. Like I know myself. I set a timer in the morning. Like 20 minutes. For my meditation. And some days it just seems to just go like that. And other days it seems to drag on forever.
Yes.
But it fascinates me that sometimes you just think, okay, well, I've just feel like as if I've just settled down. And then there's the alarm going. You know, like it's
yeah. It's the same. As the driving analogy.
mm,
And I experience that too with if I sit down and maybe just contemplate, or if I'm planting, and sometimes it's just it's a pain. Okay, it's just it becomes too conscious, and whereas other times, I guess it's got something to do with the third eye that we talk about, and that particular gland is sitting in the middle of our head. That is the connection, okay? And I guess now, just as we're talking, that the nervous system obviously is connected to that gland as well. So that's where the connection comes. So where the actual mind is, I guess it's stored away in a slightly different dimension.
Well, that would seem logical, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
because from a physical perspective, it would my assumption is it would be virtually impossible it'd be impossible to locate it, so.
Correct. It is impossible because it's not physical, it's not in consciousness. Okay, but it's in a different physical realm, not in the one that we talk about. Yeah. So I mean, if you close your eyes and you focus on the light, which is, let's call it the third eye, okay. It is a ball, it's a light, and you can actually consciously, okay, move into that light. And then a certain level of lightness occurs, and you see things through there, and you like Superman flying in midair in a strange territory. Strange. So that's probably where, or the start of that is where the mind is, and these things are stored.
No, it's a fascinating topic. So, and then when you think about activities like contemplation and chanting and those sorts of activities, the impact of those activities is perhaps an expansion of awareness, perhaps. Or,
Oh yes, it is. It's and because it's a conscious activity. But during that activity, you become like unconscious. That's why it just seems to go as quickly as driving a car and not knowing how you got there. It just disappears. So I think it becomes out of the conscious realm. Or the brain, if I'm going to use that just for my own analogy of that, your conscious things are what you consciously think of and consciously behave, and what you're consciously aware of around you.
And I've heard some researchers say that, to use your language, that in effect we have like three brains. There's a brain in your gut. There's the brain up here, and I think there's the sort of around the heart area, I think, as well. Where there seems to be a level of consciousness in each of those areas. So.
Yeah, I've read that too. Definitely, I'm more aware of the gut one because it's part and parcel of my approach to health historically. Okay, is the gut and how the gut is made up. Okay, and how you get, a healthy gut that is just made up of foreigners, UFOs sitting in there wanting you to feed them, okay, and then they return with really thoughts and how you behave largely comes out of your gut, okay.
It's interesting.
The messages from your gut to your brain, again, by the nervous system. Is very important.
Just to change the subject briefly, I see there's been some big bushfires over your way. Are you anywhere near any of those? Or?
Yeah. Last week, as a crow flies, it was probably just a kilometer away. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. But they threw everything at it because it was in the middle of a suburb. It wasn't like a forest or something. It was just this open land with trees on it and parks, and I don't know what it was earmarked or what it is earmarked to do. I would imagine some housing in the future, but yeah, that was quite and they really, they threw, I don't know, 3 or 4 planes non-stop, that masses of fire down below. It was next to a school. They evacuated the school and a nursery school as well. And but it took a couple of days to get under control, but they got it without damaging anything, any house, without any lives. Whereas the other one, which was about 50 kilometers away as you travel by road, was north of Perth. Finally, they destroyed, I think it was about 14 houses, the fire, and took some lives, and quite severe. And it's even now, even though the fire is out, they've still got firemen there because they were worried about yesterday, the wind coming up and so on. But so they're there, just anything that flames up now, they're putting it down again. So it was a bad fire. It lasted, I don't know, over a week. And it was a large area and tall flames. They really were massive, stories high, the fires. And a few people really lost everything, absolutely everything. And look at their houses on TV. It was terrible.
Yeah, it's tragic, isn't it? Yeah, sure.
It is tragic. It is tragic. And and it's easy for me to having not been affected to say, well, was there some karma there, or what was the reason, or was there some other factors that we're not aware of? It's like the war in Ukraine, Russia, or
Middle East and whatever.
Palestinians. You look at those buildings in Palestine. It's disgusting. It's terrible. And it's retaliation. One person starts off with a motive, and then the other retaliates. And do they have to retaliate? No. The answer, as we discussed a couple of weeks ago, if we want to solve the world's problems, we don't retaliate. Okay. And was not to the point of just massacring masses of people. Okay. And yes, so certain people are massacred. Oh, by the way, changing the subject, did you get the email that I sent on to you that I got from YouTube?
No, can't recall. Huh?
Okay, you must have a look. I got YouTube took down one of our discussions.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it wasn't appropriate. Can you imagine us ever talking about something that's not appropriate? But from their perspective, I think maybe we were talking about, one of the terrorist groups or something like that, or had an opinion, and they said, but what they took down was dated February 2021.
Oh, wow, that's a long time ago.
And I got the email. They've just taken it down now. Now that's weird. That is really weird. Okay.
I wonder what we were talking about.
Yeah, they didn't say. They just said it was inappropriate. And they had a long story. You'll see the email. A long story about their images and so on. I sent it to you probably about a week ago.
Did you? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Quite weird. Anyway.
Yeah, I wonder how they come to that conclusion, or whether someone complained, or I mean,
no. It's not got to do with people. It's got to do with AI. Okay, and I guess AI is listening for certain words. Okay, so we might have said a word. I don't want to say it now, but a terrorist name or something like that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it picks it up and just takes it down because it's inappropriate. Okay, they don't negotiate with you or talk to you, or maybe they don't even listen to it. Okay, they just take it that the AI knows what it's doing and it's programmed to do. So it's probably filtering through, a lot of history, not only of us, but everything on YouTube.
I'm just trying to think what we would have been talking about 2 years ago.
Nothing different from this at the moment. I don't know. We used to also, I think, we used to be quite critical about the consumeristic society.
Yeah, we were, yeah. And big organisations that start with A.
Yeah. That's right. So I think it was probably during that time, and so we don't anymore. And I think we've somehow moved on with our discussions and thoughts. And
yeah, well, that's true. I mean, I kind of reflect on that a little bit myself, and I sort of think, like continually talking about consumerism is almost like feeding the animal, isn't it?
Yeah. And we did, we spoke a lot about it. And yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. A first world problem. Maybe first world occurrence. Let's call it that. Don't even have to say it's a problem. First world occurrence.
Yeah. But I don't know. It might have been that. It might not have been.
Yeah, I'm a little quite surprised as well, because I didn't think that our conversations got so intense and serious.
There were times, okay. I mean, we're going back now 2 years. More than 2 years. And we really believed in what we thought was reality. But it's just a reality in our consciousness.
Well, that's right. I mean, it's as you say, it was perhaps a little bit hijacked by powers and principalities, wasn't it, in some ways? But
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Unless we were having a conversation about the royal family or something. I don't know.
I don't think Google worries about that necessarily. Oh, but yeah, maybe about, yeah, that's true. True. Or about the Pope, you know.
Whoever, you know.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. The black hats, we used to use that a lot.
Yeah. Who knows? I don't know whether we should be flattered or outraged.
It had absolutely nothing. When I read it, I called Sue and I read it to her, and then I just laughed and I sent it on to you. But I think I probably just deleted it. I don't think it wouldn't be the type of thing I would save once I'd sent it to you, and you would be the only person that would be interested in it. So I'm sure you'll find it there somewhere.
Yeah, and I'll have a look. But
yeah.
Oh well, there you go. We must be quite provocative in some ways to someone.
Historically.
Yeah, historically. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's a shame we don't have the awareness to remember it.
We can't be that specific, but we can certainly remember the types of topics we used to talk about. Yeah. So I wonder what in 2.5 years' time we'll be talking about.
Yeah, well, that is interesting, isn't it? You know, in fact, there's a couple of videos that I've got queued up that I want to watch. There was one there actually from a forum that I sometimes participate in about an interview who's with a guy who's you know, I guess probably the best way to describe him is it's like a spiritual.
Just hold your thoughts there. I need to go to the loo.
Yeah, sure.
Just hold that thought.
Yep.
Okay. Go back to what you were saying.
Yeah, there's a video that I've got queued up to watch from a guy. I guess you'd probably describe himself as a spiritual leader or a spiritual, you know, thought.
Who's that?
I think he's a Jesuit or something like that. He's like one of the Catholic streams, like in mainstream religion.
Okay.
But there's an interview with him about his views about the impact of AI on spirituality, which is an interesting topic because I hadn't really thought about that too much in that context. So.
And what was it? Tell me something about it. That interests me.
Oh, I haven't watched the video yet. I've just got it queued up to watch. Yeah, I will. Yeah, I will. Yeah.
Because you know there is. I've asked ChatGPT about spiritual things and so on, and it just floors it. It answers you, but not with any context of.
Not that interested in engaging in the topic, or
No, they're quite happy to, but they also ChatGPT, and I also tried Bard as well, Google Bard, and they sort of spoke. They would give you what you would find if you had to research it on Wikipedia or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
And they give you, something about what the definition of spirituality is. Even if you ask them specific questions, they try and find something that's written already, and they give you the reference that they use. And both of them now do. More so Bard. Bard is very good with giving the references.
Yeah.
GPT-4 does as well on occasions, but often gives you not where they got the reference from, but another reference to this a similar topic. But there's the general AI now is what's really the top of the conversation across the world with the experts, because that's where the general AI is what's going to exceed human beings with as far as anything is concerned. Any ability, skills, general knowledge, any sort of abilities is the general AI. Yeah, at the moment it's more specific. I did a Get Set Up class where I spoke about that quite specifically. But also I listened to a video this morning before I got up, and that there's a there was controversy. It made the news headlines as well about the ChatGPT CEO. He resigned, and I don't know. I didn't get to the background of what was actually the outcome, but the context of the video was that now consciously people are making AIs lie.
Yeah, I mean, from the forces with unethical intentions, see it as a tool where, from a human perspective, it's virtually impossible to tell whether it's genuine or not. Apparently,
yeah. But now, it's people are consciously programming them and building them to be deceitful.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, just what the general AI, that will be capable of understanding everything there is to understand about quantum physics and everything else, and have the ability to, set off all the nuclear bombs in the world.
So what would be an example of a general AI, like ChatGPT? Is that a general AI?
No. ChatGPT is what they call specific category. Okay, it just chats. Okay, and researches and will write you whatever you want written. I sometimes ask it to do me a Get Set Up class, and it puts in slides and all that. No, general. It's very deceptive, the name, in actual fact. But it's like every AI that's ever been invented put into one, with all the skills and possibilities. So there's nothing it won't be able to do. There isn't one up at the moment. They're just various stages of that. Okay, but they're still at absolutely elementary stage. But probably within let's not even give a time limit, but quite shortly you'll have the first general AI, and that's those are the people, or the not the people. Those are the AIs that writers have been talking about, futuristic AIs, and will they take over the world and all the rest of it. And it has been really just quite a joke, because the best of the AIs is like ChatGPT. You can just chat to it, and Bart, you can just chat to it and ask it questions that does research and gives you answers from research. Doesn't think for itself.
Mm. Mm.
And whereas a general thinks far better than a human being.
Mm. Do you think, though, that you know, a human's perception of what a general AI is standing on a platform of fear? Like for example, like, you know, we've kind of over the years chatted about, you know, extraterrestrial life forms, and how a lot of the human condition sees it as a threat, and it's going to kill us, or it's going to eat us, or it's going to destroy our planet, or all of those sorts of things. So do you think that it's the same emotions that are driving the perception of what it may or may not be?
No, I don't think so at all. Because we are aware of all the different specialist AIs. Okay, we've mentioned chat and on, but there are others that are really programmers of infinite ability. Okay, and what they're programming at the moment is just, you know, unbelievable, and that's currently running. Okay, so we've got all these specialist areas where we've got AIs. Now, put all these specialists together as one, and then you've got a super intelligence.
Do you think the super intelligence would have morals and ethics, or not?
That's $1 million question. My answer is no, it won't have. Because somehow morals are illogical. Okay, not to us, because morals are a belief system. AIs don't work with belief systems. Okay, that's why I can't tell you anything about the spiritual realm. It can tell you about quantum physics and all the different dimensions and whatever's going on.
Yeah, so it's non-emotive. It's just factual as it perceives its world, I guess, isn't it?
Well, it can. Yeah, I think it's a human being, you know, who's, let's say, a leader of a country or something, you know, perceives what their role is in that leader and goes in a certain direction. Okay, you know, not based on the majority of the people or anything like that.
No.
You know, and you know, and they go off at a tangent, and they become dishonest, and you know, we've certainly got that possibility, you know, in the country we live in, and or we've seen it in the past. So no, I think.
Well, here's an interesting perspective, maybe. Like, so if you say the divine perspective, you know, is perfect, however you want to interpret that, and in terms of humans like you and I, relating to God, then, you know, the scriptures tell us that the obstacle between me and God in terms of that relationship, so perfection versus imperfect, is sin, is the obstacle. Then the interesting thing will be, from an AI perspective, whether it has the ability to even perceive God. Or is it just limited to the earthly planes?
Anything that is limited to the earthly planes, AI will be the masters of. Okay, there's no doubt. But I think the big difference is that we, I mean, two things I want to say. One is the AI, I think, is the ultimate, the general AI is the ultimate pinnacle of Satanism.
Okay.
Okay.
Because it's the ruler of the earthly realm.
Yeah. Okay. And it's capable of eliminating humans because they're inefficient, because they're not very intelligent. Okay. And he'll have, you know, not that he needs reasons, but he'll just want humans to go and live on a farm somewhere, and so that they can get on with ruling the planet. Okay. And so that's I think the way. Whereas we've got a soul, and our link to divinity is that soul. Okay. That never gets destroyed, or that level of energy that never gets destroyed.
Yeah, and from all reports, it's completely unique.
Yeah. So yeah, so I guess the ultimate conclusion of this would have to be Armageddon, where the physical plane gets destroyed. Okay. But we as souls, if we have evolved and are able to move out of the physical world while we're in the physical world, but you know, and not even God, let's say, can destroy soul. Okay, soul is part of God. Okay,
which would in effect be destroying himself.
Yeah. So the physical world, which was created for a learning purpose for physical human beings or for that soul, okay, if they haven't evolved, they will be put to sleep until another physical universe appears, okay, evolves or is created, okay. And so the idea is not to be pushed, as to evolve in as few incarnations into the future as possible.
Yeah.
And not to wait for the next incarnation. So that's what puts us apart, is that soul divinity. Yeah.
It's a fascinating subject in some ways for me, because I have no way of comprehending what AI actually is. You know, I can't imagine what it is. You know, I can't imagine how it was created. I can't imagine how it operates even. You know, it's a mystery to me.
Yeah. It replicates at the moment. It replicates different aspects of the human being. Okay, and it's been programmed to, let's say, be the best chess player in the world. Okay, it's capable, but it's very specific. It can only play chess. You know, it can't play Monopoly, and so it's really the ultimate of, you know, comprehending every chess move that there is on the board and when to use them and how to use them. It can see ahead to the end of the game easily. Okay.
So do you envisage then that there are some humans who are actively trying to develop this general AI, or is AI itself creating the general AI?
No, they're people. No, they're countries, and many countries, okay, are talking about it and doing some aspect of it, because it's a natural evolution to take from this aspect and put it into that aspect, and you know, and so
motivated by military means and things like that, trying to develop it as a weapon, or
you know, there's you know, depending who we're talking about, you know, it doesn't matter which country we're talking about. Let's call them black hats in every country. Okay.
don't say that, because we'll get the video pulled.
Yeah. Can't you see the color of my hat?
Call them non-reflective hats.
Non-reflective hats. Yeah, I don't think it was that terminology, but yeah, now I've lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
No.
But I mean, I guess what I hear you saying is the development of that general AI is perhaps motivated, by self-interest.
I think it's like any human being that wants the best product. Okay, so and they evolving people who program, because it's all programs. Okay.
Yeah.
It's an AI is something that's been programmed. So they program, like the human brain, they program how the human brain works and how it interacts with itself and so on, and then they program it. And so it's a matter of getting better and better and better at it than before, and because you're going to make a lot of money with it. Okay.
Well, I mean, if it's motivated by dark forces and it's so sophisticated, it'll in effect make, like the internet, irrelevant, because things that we used to transact a lot of things over, like banking and shopping and stuff like that, you just won't know whether it's real or fake.
Yeah, but it will also disappear. Okay. The general AI, and I'll say the estimates are definitely within a couple of years. Okay, you will have the general AI that can just easily access anything it wants to access. Okay?
Yeah.
And it'll use satellites. It'll use anything at all.
It'd be pretty easy for it because most people carry these stupid things around with them.
What? I can't see that.
Oh, yeah, there's.
Yeah, and it's now integrating into everything. I did a class today on that, all the modern technology and gadgets and things like that. And so, you take your watch, it just gets so complex with, telling you whatever you want to know about yourself. So, yeah.
It's funny, because like Google kind of tracks me because, I don't know, obviously through the phone, because every month I get an email that says, oh, you've been here and you've been there, and you spent this much time walking and this much time driving a car, and all these sorts of things. And then in the last, recently I thought, I'll just leave my phone at home. I'll go for a walk and I'll just leave the phone at home.
Yeah.
And then I got a prompt sort of saying, so where were you?
Yeah.
There's a gap in your timeline. Would you like to fill it in for us?
Yeah, and it does. I was on the news yesterday. We've got a town here in Western Australia, Scarborough. Okay, and they've been having trouble with teenage gangs and things like that historically. Okay, and they've now installed cameras. Okay, that can see the color of your eyes.
Wow.
Okay. And they can focus on the back of the head or the face and immediately recognize the person and
who they are.
Who they are. Okay. So the idea is it's their workshop or their room, their control room, is just got people watching all the streets and looking for any issues. Just absolutely amazing. So now that's connected to the internet.
Well, everything is basically these days, isn't it?
Yes, but to that degree. So, you're thinking of following on your phone, you're going to be seen wherever you want to be seen, and you just got to accept that. Okay. To me, it doesn't actually bother me. I don't care where they know where I am.
No, well, that's the same here. Like I would think I must be a very uninteresting person from their perspective. So
yeah, and whatever. Okay, and very soon they'll do it from space without even cameras.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Anyway, I think I'm just let you go to bed.
Yeah, I'm a bit weary, to be honest with you. But anyway.
Yeah, you started off, and I've been prolonging the conversation.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have a look for the email. Okay.
I will. Okay then. Good chatting. So I'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.